Thank you. When I say Africa, you say Maiboye. Africa. Africa. Maiboye. Maiboye. Africa. Africa. Maiboye. Maiboye. Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause for the effort. Just for the effort. You are here on earth to unearth what you are on earth for. I'm going to repeat that. You are here on earth to unearth what on earth you are here for. You don't have to be Kennedy to build libraries, but you can supply books that contribute to their shelves. You don't have to run a marathon. The speaker, which one am I? At the back, can you just point that this is a war zone? That's the soldier zone, and then the safe zone is in the middle. Because I'm very theatrical. We're going to have fun. You don't have to run a marathon which contributes to fundraising or a particular cause to ensure that you have a direct influence upon a social cause. You don't have to build a school or an academy to ensure that students are educated, but you can sponsor a child. And what I can say to you today is small individual deeds result in collective accomplishments. Lina ke Thabang ke lethabo le thabisang ke ngwana wa ha Mashigo, ba ha Mashigo ke ba hanamane, ke ba hamiela, ke ditau tsa mariri, ke dikhoshi tsa mapulane, ke naeo. I'm an African and a proud African. You know, if one thing that I learned in my journey is that the only nutrient that can resuscitate Africa and Africa's economy is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship and leadership is the solution to all socio-economic ailments that we have in this continent. And I'll tell you how. I was introduced as a character development specialist. Some of you are trying to Google that because you're thinking, gee whiz, doesn't remind me of an engineer, doesn't remind me of a doctor. But what we do believe is your character, which is a distinctive nature, is your business model. Your character being a distinctive nature, meaning something that sets you apart from the rest, is actually your business model. I don't care how much your net asset value might be, but if you don't have a character and a business model that has the ability to generate janapreneurs, meaning legacy-oriented projects, then you are wasting your time in the industry that you're in. Everything, your daily assignments that contribute to the main goal or that contribute to your business must go up and build from generation to another. If it does not have strength for another generation to develop, then I'm telling you something. You are going to create a business that is not going to survive as an empire. Are we together? We are fine? You look very serious. Eh? I know there were keynote addresses and, we were speaking about the last video that Ran showed, the pitching of the toilet paper between the eyes and the anus. I think some of you, can you just give me your eyes? And then the anus can just relax for now. One thing about leadership, leaders do not come up with answers. They just simply ask the right questions. Now, I'm going to give you 3 critical criteria to ensure that your character is shaped well enough to generate results and to generate an income in your business. And this is based on the following premises. First, the environmental self-image. Second, developing competence to feed your confidence. And thirdly, true transformation. Now, your environment gives me an indication of how far your aspirations and your dreams go. When you begin to notice the blemishes and the deficits within your environment, you must know that it's not going to change. but the only change that can take place is within yourself. Now, we can't see past our limitations most of the time. And as a research expert in some of the work that I've done, we actually realized that there are three most powerful companies in the world. The first is Lego, the second is Google, and the third is Apple. Now, the most profitable company of all three is Google and Apple, but the most influential is actually Lego. Now, some of us will think, let's make money, it's very important. But one of the key strategies that Lego uses within their business plan and how they define their services to say, leadership starts with nurturing the child. And we are actually going to do that by creating a product that will help with their thinking capacity and developmental capacity. And that's how they came about. I want to delve a bit into the environmental image and environmental limitations. Some of the limitations that are in your own life are self-manufactured. So, in actual fact, anything that manifests in your space and in your life is manufactured by you. So, success and failure happen by design, not default. Now, it's very important that you analyze your environment. Sometimes I remember with my nephew, he came to me and said, Auntie, I want to be a policeman and a mail. Those mail people who post the mail. And I'm thinking, God, we're spending so much education, money on this child for him to be a male person, which is okay. You can go and post the mail. But guess what? It was the environment that didn't stretch his capacity to think or become, a leader in terms of, I want to be an engineer. I want to be a doctor. So because he was surrounded in a space, an environment where the only thing that he was exposed to was being a policeman or being a postman, that's how far his dreams went. So I want to ask you, how does your neighborhood and your business environment look like economically, spiritually, socially, and otherwise? Because your environment can then tell me what it is that you tolerate, respect, and accept as well. Are we fine? Can I just get an applause, Nyana? Just for sound effects. Sound effects. Now, when you change and you're not dependent on your environment, that's where the weeds in your life become wildflowers, rather. The obstacles become adventures. And lastly, anything that is deemed as cold becomes an item of courage. Now, the solution here when it comes to cultivating a sober and a profitable environment as a leader and as an entrepreneur is create a need and an expectation that you are able to bring about in your reality. Do not manufacture limitations. Instead, create options that are not real. Now, it's very important that anything that you become exposed to feeds your tolerance levels and feeds your levels of need and what you are willing to accept. So, by sheer indication of what you accept and how far you are willing to go, it tells me what kind of an entrepreneur and a leader that you are. Second item, developing competence to feed your confidence. There's a term called glocalization. Now, glocalization is the practice of conducting businesses according to both local and global markets. I admire township entrepreneurship and township development. One of the projects that we did, we went into Randfontein and we helped about 30 women who were staying in it wasn't really in formal settlements, but rather they're actually containers. I don't know if you know a spaza shop. There are people who actually live in such environments. And what we did, implementing our business model, we helped them create fully functional businesses. And today they are able to feed their families. They are able to, duplicate and create franchises from that. And these are some of the things that we believe in. When you develop your competence levels, you are then able to feed your confidence. There are people who are confident without competence. And I call that unconscious incompetence. That's high English. Did you get that? At times, what delays our success is because we don't understand and we don't know what we actually don't know. And my question to you is, how far are you willing to go to develop your competence levels? Because it is through your competency that you are able to be confident. And nobody doesn't want to deal with an individual that is not confident in the services that they offer. The most amazing case study that I experienced is from Lexus. Now, Lexus, the car, some of you might have it. Lexus developed 450 prototypes, of which one prototype cost $250,000 for one prototype. So some of our bank balances, if we were part of that company, I think would have been shining. But the whole aim is they spent so much time failing and achieving to ensure that they reach a product that is perfect. And here's the thing. If you are not willing, or rather, if you want the best product at the end of the assembly line, you got to invest in the process. And if I can speak to leaders and entrepreneurs in this room, if there's one thing that you take away from today is, do not ever settle for a reputation that is going to exceed the structure that is in your organization. If your reputation goes ahead of your structure, then there's a lot of challenges that you're going to have. And we've experienced this with Kodak, for example. Kodak had about 90,000 employees, and today they are bankrupt. When you look at Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, your social media companies, most of them that are, their asset, or rather their net value, goes about $1.5 trillion in dollars. Now with Facebook, they have employed less than 50 people. These are less than 50 stakeholders in the company. And each and every one of them has 1% shareholdership that is in the company. So now we need to analyze that when you develop your competence levels, you don't look at quantity, but you zoom into the quality. Because sometimes we want to trade business, making sure that it's very popular to have 280,000 employees working for you. Hello, who cares? When we speak about your competence levels, we are saying your CV in the 21st century is producing results. When your degrees and your diplomas and your skill doesn't work for you, I go back to the results. What have you done in this lifetime? What have you unleashed out of you? And another thing is when your potential is systematic and you grow within time and you allow yourself to evolve, that's when true innovation begins. Are we still fine? Okay, thank you. She got the cue about the hand clapping. One of the key tools as well that I would like to advise entrepreneurs is on the issue of complacency. Complacency in terminology is very simple. When you are complacent, it means you are conveniently misinterpreting the results that are in your company, in your space. It's very important to go back. Rand spoke about a very critical thing, that fail and fail and fail again. But you know that in your failure, that's when you get the tools to derive certain answers for your productivity. Now, building competence, once again, to feed your confidence results in an excessive release of resilience than rebellion. I heard some of the questions, cough, cough. I failed, I'm tired. I've invested 100,000, it's okay, invest again. You see, balance between the rebellion and the resilience as well. The last criteria is on transformation. Now, the currency of transformation comes in three: freedom, money, and time. Trans meaning from, and meaning shape. Formation meaning composition, so it's from something into another. So when we speak about transformation, it means I can take a wire and I can easily convert it into a hanger. I can easily convert it into a car. I can take a grape and convert it into a wine. That's the importance of transformation. And how transformation also took place. You know, to influence a population of 50 million people, TV took 38 years. Radio took 20 years. The internet took 4 years. Facebook took 2 years. So what more with the tools that you have to actually spread influence and profitability as well? When we cling to conformity, you run the risk of losing innovation. And I want to sub-conclude by saying, as an entrepreneur and as a leader, it's highly important to be scarred, because it's in your scars where you are truly transformed. I was very privileged to be an advisor to the Zambian president of the energy sector. And what we did is, he didn't really know that he had land from his forefathers, so we happened to have gone into that cycle and that debate. And one thing that we assisted him in is to excavate the emerald and gold that was on that land. And what we said is, you can never ever make money if you don't define what you're selling, and if you don't learn to define your brand. And what we also realized in the process is that vision without action is actually daydreaming. But action without vision is a nightmare. I deserve an applause for that. I heard the ums. So you need to understand that even in your own personal capacity and space, not all exceptions to the rules make sensible game plans. And lastly, just with the case study that we had evaluated in the company, our company is called Altitude Connection, and we actually are a think tank. I get paid to think, because if Africans do not begin thinking, then we won't realize our true emancipation. And one of our clients actually came through and he said, you know what, Thabang, I've got a contract that is close to 120 million, and I'm about to go into a partnership with this particular individual, no names mentioned. Don't worry, it wasn't Maserati. I think Maserati is in good standing, Jeremy Max, since you are advocating that. He should be an ambassador, by the way. Just a disclaimer. And when we had evaluated the contract, it looked very good. But up until we had met the person one-on-one that he was about to go into partnership with, we realized one thing, that in all the skills, in all the competency levels, there was an issue of character. And when he realized that the individual was actually reckless, so there's irresponsible and responsible achievement. So whether you succeed in spite of or because of your behavior, it can still be irresponsible. And when we realized that this individual was actually, irresponsible with his finances, et cetera, I had advised one of our clients that do not go into this deal, or you will lose most of your resources. And in actual fact, hardly 2 weeks after declining the contract, the guy that he was about to partner into the deal with was actually bankrupt. So had he signed that contract, he would have been declared insolvent. And so what I'm saying to you as an entrepreneur and as a leader is, it might look good on paper. The bank account might be so amazing that you think, I can buy my Range Rover, et cetera. But if your spirits, and if the level of understanding and mindset is not congruent, then know that your business and yourself is at risk. So your strongest currency as a leader and as an entrepreneur is your character. What on earth are you here to unearth? When I ask you, who are you? Part of your generation, part of your lineage, what is it that you have? Because as far as I know, 70% of yourself is actually your personality, which comes from your lineage. And 30% is actually your character that comes from experience. So I need you to know, and one of the questions that I'd love to conclude with is, what is it that you have in your hands? Because some of you are sitting on gold and emerald mines. You don't even need the belief in yourself. You just need to ask the right questions, because the answers live in you. Being the best is great because you're number one, but being unique is greater because you're the only one. Thank you.